So, hi everyone, warmly welcome to all of you with another very much important training session. It's my regular job, daily basis, continually busy with different sessions. So, let's try to make it very much productive, inshallah, since you guys are also experienced. And before we move on, I appreciate if you can introduce yourself. At least we can calculate number of years experience, live at Zoom with us. So, yes, Irfan, can you just introduce yourself? What's your
Yes, sir.
job? What are you
Myself,
doing
Mohammed
exactly?
Irfan Ali. Myself, Mohammed Irfan Ali. I'm working in CSES, Saudi Arabia from 2012 as a
Mashallah.
supervisor in Pulja.
Okay. Excellent, mashallah. Excellent. But 2012 to onward, right?
Yeah,
So, good. Yes, almost 12 years experience, right?
and 12
Or
year
11
experience.
years.
And regularly we are working in confined space, tight and confined space. Our job is tower field service.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And you have your own PTW system or you're following Saudi Aramco PTW system?
PTW in Saudi, here Sabiq and Aramco both are here.
Okay. Uh-huh.
So there are different means procedures, minor difference with the Sabiq and Aramco.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. But what I mean is you have your own PTW system. Like Aramco is one company, Sabic is another company, and you are another company, like third company. So what I mean is your company have a PTW system separately in line with Aramco, Sabic or international requirements or yes, please. Yeah, Irfan sir, are you, my voice is clear to you, please? Yes, we can move to somebody else. Can you just introduce yourself, please? Anyone else? We have Shiv Chandra also, soldier. Yes, please.
Hello, this is Abdullah. Sir.
Welcome.
Welcome. We have our own procedure we follow during installation or repair of the column. I worked for maybe 3 years, 4 years, and as supervision and project engineer. That's what I have to say.
Okay.
That's it for me. Is there any question I can help answer?
Yeah, so
Okay.
definitely we'll try to learn from each other. No one is perfect. We all are learners, by the way, because every day we have no idea what type of projects are going to in front, and a lot of scenarios, a lot of variables are there. So every day is kind of a new day, so with some new challenges. But yes, as a team, we can play a big role, and that is why we, the training institutes, also try our level best to share some industry experiences since we are in the market.
Yes, of course.
So we travel different projects, as an auditor, as a trainer, as a consultant. So yes, we can add value, inshallah, by sharing not only informations but our experience also. So let's learn from it.
Thank you.
Yes, Shiv, can you just introduce yourself? Shiv Chandra.
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you?
Firstly, sir, I am also belong to Soldier. Yeah. And myself,
Okay.
I belong to Soldier, and our designation is fitter.
Okay.
Yeah, column internal also.
Okay. How much experience? Like, how long you have been working actually? What's your experience?
Yes, sir. 4 years Saudi Arabia in Zubail, and sir,
Okay.
7 to 8 years Indian Jamnagar.
Okay.
Finally,
Okay.
Reliance.
So almost 12 years. Brilliant. Brilliant.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so guys, before we start this training, let's try to dig out the real root causes of accidents. Even though nobody likes accident, but still are happening, and especially happening in confined spaces or in restricted areas, or I would say in red zone areas, or the areas where people are doing technical kind of jobs or processes or activities. And because of so many reasons, things are still, suddenly, unwantedly even, go here and there. So, what do you think, as per your experience, why accidents are still happening? What do you think? Why? I mean, what are the real root causes? No bookish knowledge. I'm talking your experience actually.
Lack of knowledge,
Okay.
overconfidence,
Uh-huh. Okay.
And sir,
Thank you.
overconfidence also.
Overconfidence.
Yeah.
Overconfidence basically push us, motivate us to take some shortcut also.
Yeah.
Okay. Overconfidence, lack of knowledge. Can you add more value? Yes, please. What else?
unskilled manpower,
Unskilled. Unskilled.
lack of communication,
Lack of communication or poor communication or ineffective communication. And I can claim maybe 90% projects are getting failed because of poor communication or lack of communication. Or like you said something else and they understood entirely a different story. Or your body language is saying entirely, something terrible. And that's how people are not cooperating because communication, we have verbal communication and we have non-verbal communication. And if you guys can remember, 59% is non-verbal communication. How you sit, how you smile, how you, look into the eyes of others, how you talk to somebody with politeness, with some rudeness, it's all communication, right? And the way you are behaving or letting others feel actually. And those feelings still can give you an insight, either you are communicating positively or still have something to improve. So it's a huge subject. We conduct actually 3 days communication kind of training, effective communication. So it's a 3 day session with a lot of practical, but such training, mostly we try our level best to be on site rather than, or the training at our training institute, rather than doing it online. Because a lot of exercise you do, a lot of scenarios you build in, and group exercises, individual exercises. So thank you very much for highlighting this important point, because I totally agree. Lack of communication is another reason of accidents. Anything else is coming in your mind? Yes, Mr. Abdullah, anything else you want to add, or Shiv Chandra, please?
If you're not feeling well for while you're coming to the job,
Not feeling well.
the job
Uh-huh.
may affect you. Disease or sickness will affect you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Abdullah. You truly highlighted another important point, because somebody is coming to the job and is not feeling well. Is not feeling well mentally, physically, emotionally, maybe financially, maybe, socially, in other words. I know he's on the job, or might be is not happy with your company, is not happy with your company leadership, whatever the feelings, but still he's at the job. So somehow he's sick, maybe medically facing some issues, but still company made him bound to come, that side. So that means the probability gone up. The chances of accident with that through that gentleman definitely So thank you very much, Mr. Abdullah. It's a very much important point. And for this point, I'll
राहुल
take
कहाँ है?
one indicator, one element,
दिख रहा
the sleeping time,
है?
sleeping disorder. In other words, people are mostly sick, especially the expatriates, because they are unable to sleep 8 hours, mostly. If their duty starts morning 6 o'clock and then finishing at evening 6 o'clock, 12 hours duty, going back to the room, doing different things, cooking, washing, and all that, talking to the family, having some chit chat with the friends also, and then getting time, or might be some time for their entertainment, like YouTube, like watching movies, songs, whatever, and then they have for sleeping, right? And early 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock, still they have to wake up because 6 o'clock bus is ready to, or they have to be at site by the way. So it's a great challenge. That is why some companies they have created a mechanism, how to keep our employees healthy. They provided gym club, swimming pools. They provide best food to keep them healthy. They provide counseling also, like they have psychiatrists, sometimes visiting to the companies and motivating to the concerned employees just to keep them healthy mentally and all that. There are companies who encourage their employees to sleep at least 8 hours and get some reward from the company also. Especially in Japan, I can give an example. They pay some reward to the employees who take 8 hours sleep, So keeping our employees healthy is one of the greatest challenge. Otherwise, the absenteeism graph will also, will go up actually. And if you keep your employees healthy, the accident graph, absenteeism graph, all negative factors within your company should go down towards zero. It's a very much detailed, important topic. And yes, well-being and happiness,
हिंदी हवाई चलते
that can be the foundation to keep our employees happy. Brilliant, mashallah. Yes, CQFPH9, because I don't know your name. So can you just add value? Why accidents are still happening?
My name is Roshan Kumar, sir.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Kumar. Thank you.
Okay.
So what do you think? What is your take on it? Why accidents are still happening? I'm talking to your experience, huh? No
Hello?
bookish. Yes, sir. Why
Yes, sir.
accidents are still happening? Yes, Mr. Kumar, please, my
एक
voice is
sec.
clear. Can you hear us or? I think there is some problem. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for your valuable input. And I can add further words like unsafe acts, unsafe conditions, not following safety rules and regulations, ineffective trainings or poor trainings. In other words, lack of knowledge. And sometimes we can claim the poor leadership because if my employees are taking shortcuts or they are not following or they are not respecting safety regulations, as a leader, still my failure. If absenteeism is graph going up and up because of unhealthy habits of our employees, or might be no personal hygiene, might be no proper food intake, or all the other things, or the lifestyle they are falling in is not healthy, no exercise, no jogging, running, nothing. So, still as a leader, our failure actually. But mostly leaders, to be very honest, very rare they accept their failures. Yes, if my company culture is not good enough, because there is a trickle down effect, right? If company leadership is doing their part honestly, positively, and they have convincing power, better communication, they are emotionally intelligent, might be they can change the minds. And we need change ambassadors, by the way. We need the people who can change the minds, like from unsafe minds to safe minds, converting unsafe minds to the safe minds, and realizing employees that you are the safety manager of your own area. And this acceptability required a lot of leadership skills and efforts, And it can take maybe 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, sometimes 5 years. In Saudi Arabia, they created 20, 30 billion because they are changing the culture, right? So the dynamics are very critical. That's why they generated and created and established 20, 30 billion of Saudi Arabia and taking maybe 10 years, maybe more than that, just to change the culture, getting some fresh energies into their culture to boost their economy and having or achieving well-being and happiness and keeping the country in a peaceful manner and style, right? So it's a huge challenge. That's why we need change ambassadors. And I always encourage the safety leadership. They must have some other trainings other than safety training. They should go for, like if I ask, have you attended emotional intelligence training somewhere with any institute? The training for emotional intelligence, like the company ever supported you to go for such trainings like soft skills or human skills, in other words, like decision making, effective communication, time management, lean management, or some of the other tools, Kaizen management. Like such trainings, have our company suggested you to go for? If not, might be you can take the lead and be the self, passionate learner and start digging out. A lot of stuff is there at YouTube and several other platforms. Free of cost courses are available for such soft skill topics. And I'll encourage you guys to go for it. If you believe there are some areas still you need to improve, and the biggest room in the world is the room for further improvement. So let's accept that fact. So our topic, why I shared all these things and sharing our experience, because the topic today we have, trust me, we don't need too many safety gentlemen if we don't have restricted areas or danger zone areas. Like if you have confined spaces and you are going to perform hot works, then you truly need a gentleman as a CSE supervisor or a person as a WPR or a gentleman as a fire watcher or a person who can handle the crowd like ingoing and outgoing, as a standby man or a person as an authorized gas tester or might be a coordination with safety supervisor or safety officer just to manage one project in a confined space. And maybe from client side, a work permit issuer also, a gentleman, who can be representing the client and watching you guys, how you are performing and delivering your services. Might be a maintenance project or repairing or construction project, whatever. But into that confined space, if you are going to do something, be very careful and without permit, don't even think to go there. A lot of incidents happen. Oh, the job is only for 5 minutes, and we don't need permit. And then H2S got on the way, and immediately 4 or 5 guys, no more lives. This is how things terribly are happening, just because of taking things light or encouraging shortcuts, like saving money, time, having some human nature also, and keeping the boss also happy to. That is why people love to take shortcuts, sometimes. And sometimes the client is also pushing with penalty clauses. Oh, if you will not perform this activity in 3 days, we'll penalize you, and the fine will be there, maybe 100,000 real, maybe 10,000 real, whatever. So for money's sake, money over life. This is the crux I'm sharing, and unfortunately, still is going on. Instead of human life, instead of considering that our employees are our real asset and real money and amount, we are considering that money over our employees. That is why sometimes we don't have a regular required budget for the QHSC systems like quality, health, safety, environment. And sometimes safety gentlemen, they are suffering, because of they have a lot of ideas, a lot of procedures they can implement. They are, mashallah, qualified people, but they are suffering. Sometimes no top management commitment, sometimes no budget commitment is there, but budget is not available. Still, things can hard to move on. And sometimes people They are reluctant, with their current resource, whatever they are providing. After all, they are also human beings. Like if you have a safety supervisor and the salary is 2,500 riyal, what do you think? How much he will be having energy on day-to-day basis, to bring some positive changes? Because you are offering him only 2,500 riyal. And there is another safety supervisor getting maybe 12,000 riyal per month, and is more efficient, more like, they keep their employees mobilized in such a way because they have budget actually. And I since been working with global brands, and I noted a lot of brands, they have open budget for CSR, open budget for QHSE actually. Because without this, they can't survive. So for the confined space, always bear in mind any activity, any project you are going to perform in confined spaces, please never ever ignore any safety regulation, even the minor one. You believe is nothing, but still follow it. It will definitely help you greatly. So if we take an example of Saudi Aramco, mashallah, they have established their PTW system based on the General Instruction 2.100 and also relevant to confined space GIS 2.709, along with their CSM, like we call it, Construction Safety Manual. And through this way, they establish mechanism how to manage safely the confined spaces or any project in confined spaces. So this training will have four important objectives. Like we will learn how to define confined space. Like what is confined space? How to identify confined spaces? Means some examples, or what are the responsibilities as a team? Who is responsible for what? We will learn, inshallah. And what is confined space entry even? So in first part, like 1.1, we'll be having three important questions along with their specific answers as per Saudi Aramco. Now another is state the requirements of the confined space entry program, like CSC program. How many important elements must be part of the program to proactively, I always mention we have two approaches, like proactive and reactive. Reactive is we learn from our mistakes, we always do accidents, and sometimes repeated accidents, and sometimes we don't learn, to be very honest. But still, it's a reactive approach. Like something happened, somebody died, God forbid, you faced some fatal accident, and then you woke up and started taking different actions. But still, it's a reactive approach that you are reacting once something happened. But the best approach is proactive approach. Before something happens, make sure you have a program, master plan. We call it CSE program. We will discuss in detail. And then as a third part, we will be discussing, inshallah, and that is our key objective also, to define the requirements to plan and prepare a confined space entry. How to get well prepared, safely prepared before we allow anyone to go inside. And the number four, which is the most important one, like how to identify the hazards and putting some controls or precautions against those hazards, again proactively, like during, before, during, and after even. Those all hazards need to be considered seriously, and the controls and precautions should be effective, against each one. So let's start with point 1.1, the which is, you can say, the module number one, confined spaces. So talking to you, as per your experience or your understanding, whatever is coming in your mind, what is the confined space actually? Then we'll see what Aramco is saying. Yes, Mr. Sheikh, Irfan Kumar, and Mr. Abdullah Ahmed.
Limited access and exit from particular space. It's not defined for human entry.
Okay. Excellent, mashallah. Anything else, Mr. Irfan?
Any excavation more than 1.2 meter called also confined space.
Excellent, mashallah. Excavated area deeper than 1.2 meter or 4 feet would also be considered a confined space. But still, Mr. Irfan, is an example. It's an example of confined space. My question is, what is the confined space? What is a confined space? One of my trainee mentioned a place which we don't like, but still we have to work there. So a place which is not designed for human occupancy, have limited exit or entry, and having a lot of toxic kind of hazards or atmospheric hazards, along with safety and health hazards. A place which is where we can't eat, sleep, or drink. It's a purpose-built place, and this confined space, of course, hardly will find any site in oil and gas industry where somebody can claim, oh, we don't have any confined space. So that's why it's important to understand what is a confined space. It's a large enough to allow workers to enter and perform work. So it's a well-built design also. Yeah, design mistake could be a disaster. So before we, like during the design phase of a confined space, we have to be very much careful. Has limited or restricted means of entry or exit. We can't allow anyone to go there, or without permit, we can't allow anyone to go there. Not designed for human occupancy and contains or has the possibility to create a hazardous atmosphere. Contains any other recognized serious and safety and health hazard. That's what we discussed. Now, what is confined space entry? So it's not like full body entry. Any part of the body, like your hand or leg, would be considered a confined space entry. Like previously we discussed what is confined space. Now we are talking about what is confined space entry. So entry of any part of the body will be considered confined space entry. That means even all the times need to be recorded. That is why we need standby man, CSE log sheet, whoever is going inside, time in, time out, batch number, the particular date, and what exactly is going to perform. And the standby man have to verify that the gentleman is relevant to this project and trained and certified, or also not an irrelevant gentleman. So that is why the standby man should also be part of this project. So entry of any part of the body into a confined space or includes all periods of time when the confined space is occupied. So every second need to be recorded. When the job was started, when it was finished, who went inside, the complete history of that project need to be built up. And that is the reason a lot of projects, they have separate document controller. Once the project is finished, all the record project wise is going back to data room, and the document controller, he is the responsible person to communicate if anybody needs any record in future relevant to project number 9, project number 10, 11, whatever, all documentation, the field forms, everything is with them. And those data controllers also help you to handle your third party audits, your Aramco audits or your SABIC audits, whatever, whoever is coming, or somebody even from the government side. So all stakeholders can get benefit through this document controller. My question is, do you have document controller at your project site right today? Or you don't believe on this position? Yes, Mr. Irfan?
Sir,
Do you have document controller at your site?
we
Like-
have document controller.
Sorry?
We have separate document controllers.
Okay, perfect. Okay, guys, now we have a question examples of confined spaces. So, Mr. Abdullah, can you share
Thanks.
some examples of confined spaces?
And the pipe.
For example, a hole in the ground where you have to check the wires, connections, anything, or the column entry,
Mhm.
drum,
Okay.
and the reactor.
Yes, Mr. Chef, anything coming in your mind? Any examples of confined space?
Yes, sir, there are a lot of example. Confined space have not enough light, and there are available lot of gases and slip trip and also this one this one also belong to hazards of confined space.
But what are the, like, how those places, what are the names of those places? Like this manhole, one of the example, and one Mr. Irfan mentioned, excavated area deeper than 1.2 meter or 4 feet. That should also be considered confined space. So other than this, any other examples
Tank
that coming
vessel,
in your mind?
tank vessel, tunnel, big pipe,
Okay, like columns and vessels. Storage tanks,
Tanks, drums,
pipelines, wall boxes, manholes, ventilation ducts could also be boiler spring generators, heat exchangers, sewers, pits, some, and barge compartments, and most importantly, the excavated area deeper than 4 feet. Okay, these are some of the examples of confined spaces. So if any project you are going to perform within these kind of confined spaces, be very much careful here and make sure you follow complete PTW system or CSC safety management system, like confined space entry safety management system. And I'm sure you would have some SOPs or procedures relevant to confined spaces. Now, the 1.2 module is all about how, since the places are so dangerous, so how are we gonna prepare the CSE program? Like I call it master plan also. What should be included into this program? Like, the top leadership is sitting together and making sure, they are considering it's a proponent department's local program, and they will proactively identify how many confined spaces we have and what are the locations. They will make sure, proactively identify all the hazards, for those confined spaces they have at their site. According to the hazards, they have to establish confined space entry plans. That should also be part of the program. And within the program, they will evaluate the training requirements and qualifications. If somebody is not third party certified, or sometime a client is saying we will not approve until the guys are approved by us, or you need to send CVs and document all their qualifications and certificates and all to us, and then we will conduct an interview and exam to get them approved. And after that, you can use them into those projects, relevant to confined spaces. So based on the client requirements also, sometime to you define your program, So rescue procedures must be part of proactively the CSE program. So we don't ignore identification of confined spaces, hazards, entry plans, training, qualifications, in other words, and rescue procedures. No, the confined space entry permits, yes, confined space entry permits are mandatory before entry into, if you are working with Saudi Aramco or SABIC, confined spaces within Saudi Aramco facility or within SABIC facility or whatever clients you have, and confined spaces at the project site. Now, the most important area, right after the break, we will discuss, inshallah. So just take 10 minutes break and we will start with roles and responsibilities. Who will do what, when, and how, inshallah. That would be right after 10 minutes. With the same link, you can join. Okay?
okay, boss.
Take some 10 minutes and have some tea, coffee, because online sitting all the time, it's not easy. Okay? Thank you, guys.
Okay.